depression is a luxury that I can't afford. So he's got to always be constantly moving. And if he stops to be depressed, that's a luxury to him. He can't just sit back and relax and sort of sit in that space for too long. So when I heard that, that hit my psyche so heavy that in hindsight, I was suppressing it all. So I was just pushing everything down until eventually it did like explode in my face. And so I held on to that and got through those dark times in my life before, I sort of did have that little bump, but I don't think that bump was as bad as it could have been. When you were feeling that way, did you assess it? Have you looked back at your psyche and assessed, was it because the world has put me in this spot and I feel like there's something more here? How did you get out of it, and how have you looked back at how you got in there?
Yeah, well, I think I got in there. I had a good upbringing and everything. I don't know. I used to have like existential crises when I was like 14 or 15, heaps. So I don't know if that's normal as when you're a kid growing up, but I don't know, like stress of school, like just school shit that used to happen. I definitely didn't eat like a good diet. Like I didn't even know what nutrition was, or like macros or fats and carbs and stuff. Just accumulation of, I guess, I don't really know, honestly. Like a diet could have been a big thing. Lifestyle, like I used to play heaps of video games. But I think it's just like, I don't know if most kids, when they're like growing up, I don't know, deal with anxiety and depression and stuff. But I think what you said is a really good point is like afford depression, like you can't afford it. Like most people these days live such comfortable lives, but they have no meaning in their life. And I noticed this myself when I'm down on like farm property. Like I'm not procrastinating on my phone, looking at stupid shit, trying to feed my dopamine. I'm like, in the sun, enjoying nature and stuff, doing tasks. Where these days people like finish their little cog job where they're just working their little job, and then they come home and they've got nothing to like give themselves meaning. So they just go and do a bunch of, random shit to feed their dopamine. And it just creates this cycle of like unhappiness and like no meaning in their life, and then they just get sort of stuck in that. So I don't know why exactly I used to feel like have those, feel like that, but realizing that the thoughts just kept happening. Like my thoughts were just looping on them, the same things. I remember I was like, used to sit in my room and just have the exact same thoughts over and over and over again. And I was like, dude, this is fuck. Like I need to control my thoughts somehow. And that's when I started getting into like philosophy and like the psyche and consciousness. And then like as soon as I sort of eased off on that, then I just went ham on the conspiracy stuff, and that wasn't good. But it led me to like that wasn't good. But I mean, like just learning every single thing I could and realizing like I watched probably every single video on YouTube, and I would just absorb knowledge. Like every day I would just be gaining so much knowledge on like any single thing I could learn. And then just building my awareness up, different reference points to look at different things. And then of course, finding like self-development, like spirituality, and then sort of just diving deep into that and like realizing that like I can control my reality by the way I think and by my actions and by my thoughts and by my awareness.
What philosophy did you dive into? Like, do you remember?
Oh, just a range of stuff. Like I read heaps of Kant.
Because that seems like it got you out. Like it seems like what I'm hearing. It seems like you were in a state of depression, and then diving into everything, overloading your brain to an extent, sort of put you in a still position where you could move forward, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, like I read a book called The Blank Slate. I read Kant. I read books by Steven Pinker. I read books by Douglas Hofstadter, which is I'm a Strange Loop. And I think the I'm a strange loop one really was the biggest thing, because I realized that like all your thoughts and all your actions just loop themselves consistently. So if you're constantly having these bad thoughts, they're just going to keep happening, right? And I came to a lot of understandings of stuff that Joe Dispenza discusses, but I've never read a Joe Dispenza book. Are you aware of like Joe Dispenza?
Nah, I'm not. So who is he?
He has a book called like Becoming Supernatural and some other stuff. And he basically talks about how your mind is like the most powerful thing. And, you know, you have basically 80% of your thoughts every day are the exact same thoughts.
When you have an emotional reaction to someone or something, most people think that they can't control their emotional reaction. Well, it turns out if you allow that emotional reaction, it's called a refractory period, to last for hours or days, that's called a mood. I say to someone, hey, what's up? You say, I'm in a mood. Well, why are you in a mood? Well, I had this thing happen to me 5 days ago, and I'm having one long emotional reaction. If you keep that same emotional reaction going on for weeks or months, that's called temperament. Why is he so bitter? I don't know, let's ask him. Why is he so bitter? Why are you bitter? Well, I had this thing happen to me 9 months ago. And if you keep that same emotional reaction going on for years on end, that's called a personality trait. And so learning how to shorten your refractory period of emotional reactions is really where the work starts. So then people, when they have an event, what they do is they keep recalling the event, because the emotions of stress hormones, the survival emotions, are saying pay attention to what happened, because you want to be prepared if it happens again. Turns out most people spend 70% of their life living in survival and living in stress. So they're always anticipating the worst case scenario based on a past experience. And they're literally, out of the infinite potentials in the quantum field, they're selecting the worst possible outcome, and they're beginning to emotionally embrace it with fear. And they're conditioning their body into a state of fear. Do that enough times, the body has a panic attack without you. You can't even predict it because it's programmed subconsciously. So then you say to the person, why are you this way? And they'll say, I am this way because of this event that happened to me 15 or 20 years ago. And what that means from a biological standpoint is that they haven't been able to change since that event. So then the emotions from the experience tend to give the body and the brain a rush of energy. So people become addicted to the rush of those emotions, and they use the problems and conditions in their life to reaffirm their limitation, so at least they can feel something. So now when it comes time to change, you say to the person, why are you this way? Well, every time they recall the event, they're producing the same chemistry in their brain and body as if the event is occurring, firing and wiring the same circuits and sending the same emotional signature to the body. Well, what's the relevance behind that? Well, your body is the unconscious mind. It doesn't know the difference between the experience that's creating the emotion and the emotion that you're creating by thought alone. So the body's believing it's living in the same past experience 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And so then when those emotions influence certain thoughts, and they do, and then those thoughts create the same emotions, and those same emotions influence the same thoughts, now the entire person's state of being is in the past. So then the hardest part about change is not making the same choices you did the day before, period. And the moment you decide to make a different choice, get ready, because it's going to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, he's good. But I came to a lot of his understandings without like reading, like before he was like pretty big. But yeah, and then also learning about like cause and effect, and, you know, realizing my psyche was looping on itself, and then realizing about how the universe is fractal. Then I was like, all right, well, if I implement certain things here in my life, that's going to have an effect that I want it to have. And if you just ignore that in your life, then that's how people become overweight, and that's how people get themselves in positions they don't want to be in, because they don't realize that their actions and the thoughts they have actually has a direct effect in their future.
Yes. 1000%.
So I started journaling and writing my thoughts down, and writing like action steps and plans, and realizing the things that I needed to do to become the person that I wanted to be, right? So I think, and I was discussing this with someone a while ago, And then I was like, I know everything that I need to do to be where I want. And they said, how, like, they were like shocked. They're like, I don't even know what I need to do. So, I know everything that I need to do now. And it's just a question of doing it and doing it consistently. But I think for most people, the whole journey is finding out what you actually need to be doing. Like, what are the daily steps and the daily thoughts that you need to be doing to get you to where you want to be? And if you don't have a conceptual understanding of that, then how can you expect to get to where you want to be,
100%. And people have a lot and it's not an easy thing to do because we've been conditioned not to do it.
Yeah.
So
exactly right, yeah.
we like figuring out what you want. So like, what's it called? Seneca says, "Man is affected not by events, but the view he takes on them." So, what you're looking at and what comes into your life, like what's going on right now, if you look at it at a negative way and that the world is ending and so on and so forth, you will only see negativity. Me, when I looked at this time, I have built a lot during this time because I look at it as positive. I look at it people getting back into their nutrition. I look at people getting into philosophy. I look at people getting into religion. I look at people getting deeper into spirituality. I look at spirituality. I said that a bit weird. I look at people just going more into their purpose during that time, because if the pendulum is swinging so much one way, naturally, I don't know what it is about the human psyche. A lot of us wants to just look the other way and want to find more purpose. So through this time, I completely agree. I've been seeing the steps that I need to take and trying to achieve them as much as I can, because you can't really control so much of what's going on in the world. You can have an impact that has an impact on the next person, that can have an impact on the next person, but to have that impact, you really got to have an impact in yourself. Hey, how are you? If you enjoyed this snippet, there's more. We're posting back on YouTube, so go and subscribe to us there. There's also our Telegram, so join that. As always, you can always go to worthprotecting.com.au to get articles, to get, more stuff about us, about me, about you, about life, about philosophy. Thank you. Love you. Bye.